What's going on, everyone? It's Adam McCraig with Grandstand Golf. This is our PGA DFS Sleepers for the 2021 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. But before we go over there, Craig, quick recap. Palmetto Championship, not great. 2 of 6 made cuts. EVR was threatening for a while. T10 there. Nice to see in this field as well. Nick Taylor, T44, but really hard to get 6 of 6s through last week.
Yeah, unfortunately, John Pack was one of mine. Picked the wrong pro debut because Davis Thompson, I think, had a decent finish. I don't remember where exactly he ended up, but he made the cut. He ended up in a decent finish position, I want to say.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter at Grandstand Golf. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. That's a really good way to support us. Craig, this is our DFS sleeper. So that means for us, under 7,500 on DraftKings, we're not going to give you, a Scotty Scheffler we think is contrarian. This is under 7,500. The last few guys in our lineup. So not necessarily low owned either, but the last few guys we're putting in our DFS lineups this week.
Yep, for sure. Jump into it.
Hey, let's do it. So I kind of talked about it on our pick show a little bit. I like a little bit of a balanced build. So you're not going to see me go too low in our sleepers, but first one in here, right at the upper limit, Joaquin Niemann, 7,500 on DraftKings. He's 33rd there. A good discount from FanDuel where he's 27th, 9,600. So if you like a little bit of price discount on DraftKings, if you are shopping around a little bit. So his PGA Tour season stats, 9th driving distance. You don't think of Joaquin Niemann as the wiry, skinny guy to get that far out, but he averages 312 yards off the tee. He's 15th strokes total, plus 1.4. Again, entire PGA Tour season, so quite a big sample size. 19 events he's played in, 11 top 25s. So he's finishing pretty high on quite regularly on the PGA Tour. He has 2 starts at Torrey. Nothing really to write home about. A 72nd to 43rd in 2019-2020. He's positive strokes total in 3 of 6 rounds. I put that because his average is negative, but includes an 80 where he lost like 7 strokes in total. So he is positive in 3 of 6 rounds. But if we want to go back a little bit further, I mentioned this on our podcast as Joaquin Niemann was my sleeper at 66-1. He won a 2015 junior event here at Torrey Pines South. He beat Sahith Theegala. They're the only 2 ones under par. So Niemann has a little bit more experience here than just 2 PGA Tour events. He has won here back in 2015 when I don't even know what he was, like 15, I think then.
Yeah, it's 16-ish, something like that.
So last 3 majors, I always look at major championship performance when we're looking at these major championships. So I think it correlates well. He's T40 or better in the last 3. We don't have a huge sample size. He's only 22. Like we said, he's a young guy. He's only 22. So his last 3 major starts have been his best 3, and they're all T40 or better. So he's getting better kind of as he, I think, plays these tougher courses, get a few U.S. Opens under his belt. I think he's going to continue to get better and better. 7,500, I really like him on DFS. I think he also scores a bit more DFS points, possibly than even finishing position as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think he's going to be a popular play. Joaquin Niemann at 7,500. We've sort of seen him bounce around a bit. I want to say this is about where he was priced for the Masters, and then he jumped up high. He jumped up into the mid to high 8s for the PGA Championship, and now he's down to being here. He's going to be an incredibly popular play, but I don't think I'm going to be avoiding it. I think I'm going to have him. I think there's upside. I think his ball striking gives him, there's just so much potential there.
The only thing, like under 7,500, there's only a select few that I feel like really have winning upside. He is close. He's close.
Oh, I think he's winning. I mean, he has the game. It's just we have not seen that happen yet. At this
it would just be early. It would be early
for sure. Oh, for sure. Okay, my first one here, I am going the maybe opposite end of their career. Adam Scott, 7,400. He's 36th, 9,300, 33rd on FanDuel. Just seems like a really good deal to me. Adam Scott, the numbers of recent, even of the past year, don't really jump out at you. 0.79, 0.84 kind of thing, strokes gained total. But then you look at 2 years, he's 1.17, 26th in the field over 2 years. You have to like the long term, what Adam Scott brings to the table in the long term. We're seeing him play less and less events these days, so I think it is a little bit harder to have a good gauge on him. Now, the thing for me with Adam Scott, I think people still think of him as the great ball striker, and it is still gorgeous looking, his golf swing. but he is not relative to the fields he's in. When he was number one in the world and his dominant years of his career, he was a dominant ball striker. He's not quite there anymore, but he still gets the driver distance. And the only reason I point that out is because I think that's going to be important this week. He's 19th on the PGA Tour in driving distance. This is driving distance all drives, so it's 299.4, which you see is a little bit lower than you think of, because normally the normal driving distance they only calculate on long holes, but essentially this means he's getting them out there.
Yeah.
The thing that I think a lot of people don't realize if they're not paying close attention is that he has become a good to great putter. Over the last 3 seasons, he's averaging at least 0.45 strokes gained putting in each of them. So I think that we still think of Adam Scott as a ball striker with the more the superstar. The short games are sometimes, but not other times. He really has become he hangs his hat on his short game and his putting. Yeah. So I like that. I think that I think he still could have that upside week of ball striking, and you combine that with the good putting and the good short game he has now. I think he's going broomstick, something like that. It's not anchored to his chest, but it's an odd thing, but he seems to have it working. So maybe not as pretty looking as the ball striking, but does the job.
But it goes in the hole, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing, I want to say he's maybe first in strokes gained total at Torrey Pines South. He's got 10 rounds, 2.56 strokes gained total over those 10 rounds. He's just, this I believe is 2 starts at the Farmers Insurance where he's been 2nd and 10th, and then going back to the U.S. Open when it was here in 2008, when as we mentioned on the podcast, he played with broken hands. So those strokes gained total is kind of a whole bunch built into that, but I would say like the 2nd and the 10th in recent starts at Torrey Pines, you have to like that. And then Adam Scott, you know that he's not going to be too phased by a major. So I think he's got a good West Coast game. I don't think he's going to be phased by a major. I just think he's good value at 7,400.
Yeah, so the plus 2.56, that is from Data Golf, their course history tool, I want to say. That's where we're kind of grabbing that from. Yeah, the one thing I was going to add, you said it at the end, good West Coast player, obviously Riviera. I think he does well. I would have to double check on the Poana greens. Also just Aussies on West Coast, they're a little bit closer to their time zone. It's a good fit for them. They win a lot on the West Coast.
Well, his last U.S. Open top 10, I'm pretty sure he was top 10 at Pebble in 2019. So, yeah, you have to like him a little bit more here than maybe at Winged Foot.
So you think Adam Scott's old. Let's go to my second pick here, Craig. Stewart Cink is my second one here. 7,200 on DraftKings, 45th there. FanDuel, a little bit better, 48th, 8,700. So strokes gained totals the past, looking at 3 months, 6 months, again, this is from Data Golf. 3 months, 1.74. He's 10th in the entire field. Go back 6 months, which is still a really good sample size. He's plus 1.05, and that doesn't include a Safeway Open win. That's even further back. So he's 33rd there. I kind of feel like that's where he should be priced around. It's kind of that 33rd area, but he's 45th on DraftKings, 48th on FanDuel. So like Adam Scott, a lot of history. He also played in the 2008 Open, was a T14 there, but he's played here a lot. It's hard to kind of unpack all this history at Torrey Pines, but he has 19 events. I think 18 regular, the 1 U.S. Open, 13 of 19 made cuts, 7 top 25s. Again, from Data Golf, plus 1.04 strokes gained total on the South course with 34 rounds. And then that T14 at 2008 U.S. Open. I mean, that is kind of completely different to the field, the game now, all of that. But still, you saw the course of the U.S. Open setup with U.S. Open kind of how they like to set the course. So I think that's still a bonus that he is T14 here. We've been looking at major championships again. So he's played in 80 majors, a little bit different from Niemann with just recent history. He has 29 top 25s, 7 of which are at the U.S. Open. So we're seeing this resurgence from Stewart Cink, which is, I think, absolutely, sustainable for at least this season. He has major experience. He's obviously won a major, has experience at Torrey Pines. I think at 7,200, he seems like a very good plug and play. If we want to talk a little bit statistics here, so 29th driving distance. People often don't know how far he does hit it, but 29th in driving distance, 6th in greens and regulation, 3rd in proximity from the rough. So these are all PGA Tour stats from the PGA Tour website. he just kind of profiles well here, and I think he's going to have another good start at Torrey.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Stewart Cink will be in my pool. I think a lot of people are sort of waiting. They don't, they've missed out on Cink and they're like, there's no way this is going to continue. I don't think he's doing anything unsustainable. I think he's playing, fairly basic. Yeah, his ball striking is good, but it's not, he's hitting greens in regulation, and it's as simple as that. And there's weeks where his putting and his short game is good enough that he popped off for a couple wins. And I'm going to be buying on Stewart Cink for sure.
Yeah, with Reagan on the bag, I think they've got that decade system, not to do the free plug or anything, but basically limiting those big mistakes. Where can we kind of find our birdie opportunities, but really limit it to bogeys, which U.S. Open, that's exactly what I want to see. Limit those bogeys and par yourself around this course. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. Okay, my next one here, I am going Christiaan Bezuidenhout. 7,200 on DraftKings, 45th there, 8,700 on FanDuel, 48th there. You look at the strokes gain total numbers, and I think they show value. They don't scream that it's a huge value, but he's 0.54 over the last 3 months. I'm going to qualify that one because I actually think it's better than that. 0.73, 0.82, 0.85 when we get to 2 years, 39th in the field. So I see a slight value there when you're looking in the long term at what he does. But so this is where I think he's actually been better over the last 3 months than what that strokes gain total number. That one incorporates the match play where he had, they sort of, they use how far someone lost the match to say what their strokes gain totals were for that match. But match play is so different because you have to start to try to force, like if you're down 3, you're going to make different decisions than if you're down 3 strokes in a tournament. Yeah. So I don't love that, but what I did, so I took the 7 PGA Tour starts he's had. He has not been back over onto the European Tour since WGC at concession. And so he has 7 PGA Tour starts in that time, obviously not counting the match play. He's gaining 1.35 strokes gain total in that time. That's pretty darn good. That screams value to me when you look at where he's priced in this field. He's been 41st or better every single time. Obviously no miscuts there. 7th at Arnold Palmer, which, the one thing I had brought up Christiaan Bez as my sleeper on the podcast, and you were saying that, I don't know if I quite like it. US Open's going to reward distance, and Arnold Palmer, Bay Hill is a course that rewards distance as well. It's a thick rough, drive it far and kind of hack your way around the course. Obviously we saw Bryson DeChambeau win there. So to me,
Bez was my one and done at the Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, yes.
I got that paycheck. I like it.
For sure. But I think that 7th there looks good as can this guy play well at the US Open? I think so personally. He's made 4 straight cuts at majors after I think 2 or 3 to start his career, but essentially the last 4 he's made, and he has an elite short game. So this is essentially what you hang your hat on if you're going to pick Bez. When I say elite, elite gets thrown around a lot. I forget, was it Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback? Was that the one that always was the meme? But when I say elite, if you combine his strokes gained putting and strokes gained around the green, he's first over the last 2 years. So it's not just Patrick Reed has an elite short game. Webb Simpson, all these guys have elite short games, but Christiaan Bez right now is right on the top of the heap over the last 2 years. So I think that translates well in majors. I think that's going to translate well at Torrey Pines this week. So I'm bullish on Christiaan Bez.
Yeah, I mean, even after the podcast, I said I'm not sure if he's going to make the player pool. I wanted you to kind of hear your argument again here. You are convincing me. The elite short game for sure. I guess the other thing too is I'm not sure about some of these guys that we're seeing for the first time. The Bobby Max, the Higos, the Bez. The West Coast performance, I think, is a little bit different from the Florida performance, Texas, East Coast, Carolinas that they've been seeing for the last few months. So these kind of first time breaking on the PGA Tour, I do want to do a little bit more research to see, how they played comparable.
He has not played a single Western PGA Tour stop.
So that's a little scary. But, if it was at 78, it might be a full fade for me. At 72, it's a little bit of a gap in my player pool. I think right now I got to take a hard look at Bez because,
man. So the other thing I would say about Bez is I think if the numbers were reversed and he was doing it primarily with his ball striking, I think he would be a DFS darling, and you would have every person who's making their DFS picks would be touting him. And I just am of the belief that we fall too much in love with the ball striking, and we think someone who profiles so differently like a Christiaan Bez does not have. And I get some of the upside arguments that anyone can have a good putting week, but you look at Christiaan Bezuidenhout's good putting weeks, and they are friggin' great, And then even when he has a good ball striking week and not a great putting, his not great putting weeks are still good, So that's really where I come home with it. But yeah, to each their own. I'm hoping that the ownership is low on Bez this week.
I think I'll probably get there. Okay, my third and final sleeper. I'm going Ryan Palmer, 7,100 on DraftKings. He's 51st there. I feel like it's just a good value on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 8,845th, probably a little bit more appropriate. I was thinking about trying to find someone in the sixes here for my third and final sleeper, but ultimately, I think Palmer's a little bit safer, that veteran as opposed to, maybe one of these more Euros with question marks that are, have been playing well recently. But I'm going Ryan Palmer here. So his record at Torrey Pines is pretty great. He has 8 events here, but the last 4 are all top 21 or better, including 2 second-place finishes. And his 19 rounds at Torrey Pines South, plus 1.12 strokes in total. So I am leaning on course history, course fit a little bit more, I think, for this U.S. Open, because we do have a lot of data, unlike Winged Foot, where it was kind of more question marks. We have a PGA Tour event, which, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's still the same course. I do feel like he profiles well. These are PGA Tour stats. Again, he's 4th in approach from over 200 yards. So looking at the distance, it's a long course. So yeah, you can make it up off the tee, but also these guys like a Ryan Palmer or a Webb Simpson, like if you're good, even a Brian Harman, if you're good from 200 plus, you're still can attack these 200 or these long courses. But with Ryan Palmer, he also is 40th in driving distance. The one thing that's kind of makes me a little bit concerned is the majors, the major performances. So in his 32 majors that he's played, he's only made 18 cuts. At the U.S. Open, it gets a little bit worse. 2 cuts in 8 appearances at U.S. Open. I mean, Ryan Palmer's been around for a while. I think he's 2005 around there might have been his first U.S. Open. So he's played sparingly over the years. But I think he is kind of the best that we've seen from him in a while. So I do think, his game does translate here, but the U.S. Open history does give me a little bit of concern.
Yeah, so that is sort of where I come to and I think it's because I have backed him at I forget what tournament it might have been, but another major, and kind of got bit for it. I like Ryan Palmer. I am going to have to dig a little bit deeper to know whether or not he's going to be in the pool, because I feel, and this is purely emotion-based and not analytics-based, but I feel like I've just gotten him wrong a bunch of times, where I feel like it seems to make so much sense, and I go to make the play and then it just doesn't work. And so, I'm going to look into it more, but it seems like it should be good value at 7,100. So
there's a few guys that I've kind of talked about on the Picks and Sleepers show that I feel like had better early 2021s when we were on the West Coast, we were in Hawaii, and then maybe have fallen off a little bit in Florida, or, I mean, he is a Texas guy, so. But
well, and that's where it's interesting to know whether it's trending in form or whether it's more like there's a comfort level on these types of courses.
For sure.
Yeah. My last one here. I'm going Charl Schwartzel, 7,000 on DraftKings, 57th, 8,400 on FanDuel, 57th over there. You look at the numbers and they don't seem that great. So you might be wondering why I'm saying this one. 3 months, past 3 months, he's gaining 0.42 strokes gain total. He's 63rd. 2 full years, he's 0.36 strokes gain total, 69th. So, it seems like it's almost not quite the value is there. But I want to go back to one thing, because I have brought this up before when I've had Schwartzel's pick, but if you didn't listen to that last one, I want to know if you, Adam, can guess how old Charl Schwartzel is.
Oh man, I forget. It's like 37 or something.
He's 36. You're still over. You still can. I think last time you guessed he was about 41. But
I wasn't sure if he had his birthday in that since the last show.
Oh, actually, I should check that. But I'm pretty sure he's 36 on the PGA Tour website. But regardless, so my own perception was that Charl Schwartzel is kind of just like past his prime. And so this is a repeat if you've heard this before, but I dug into it a little bit more, and he had an injury in kind of 2018, 2019. He had, he missed a bunch of time. It was a wrist injury, which, can be, all these soft tissue injuries can be killer in golf. So he's 36 years old. I'm not buying that he's done. I'm buying that he's kind of coming out the other side of an injury. So essentially, my rationale for playing him as a sleeper this week isn't because I really like the value over the last 3 months or 6 months or anything. I just am going to continue to play him in tournaments that I think are fits for him, over the next 6 months, 12 months, until I think he's actually back to the golfer that I think he has the talent and the ability, skill set, all that to be. So why I think that? 2009 to 2017, 9 seasons, he averaged 1.26 strokes in total over those seasons. That's kind of what we think of when we think of Charl Schwartzel, was that period of time when he was, one of a regular kind of in the world of golf at the top. 2018 was when he, I think when he started to miss the time for the injury. 2019 is when he came back. He was minus 0.67 strokes in total for the 2019 season. And then he has been about this, what we see in the past 2 years, 0.3, right, 0.4 kind of thing. I think he has the ability to return to where he was. So that's sort of where I am like, okay, I'm going to continue to buy it when it's 7,000. And then when it goes up into the high 7s, low 8s, wherever it's going to end up, then I'll have to reevaluate. But I'm going to continue to buy on the way up. I like it at Torrey. He's got 4 rounds here. He's 0.237 strokes in total in those 4 rounds. Huge sample size. That's got to be reliable. No, obviously it's not a huge sample size, but you still have, you have to like the fact that he has a good feeling, whether it's a good feeling for the greens or whatever. I'd rather that than not. You look at the U.S. Open results, they haven't been great in the last couple of years, but again, I'm giving him a pass on that. You don't have to play Charl Schwartzel. I'm giving him a pass on that because I think when he was playing what I think he can play, I think he was pretty good at U.S. Opens. So from 2010 to 2016, those years of the U.S. Opens, he had a single missed cut. So he made 6 cuts, missed 1. His average finish when he made the cut in those 6 starts was 17.8. So I think that, what I'm trying to figure out there is if he does have his game, is it suited to U.S. Open setups? And I think it is. It's just a matter of kind of, is he going to be able to show up with his game? And that's why I'm taking a chance on him at 7,000 and not taking a chance on him at 8,000,
Yeah, it's an interesting argument. The one thing I did want to look the Torrey, because he has been around for a while when that was, but he was 18th this year in 2021. He's 18th at the Farmers Insurance. So that is reason that's kind of the new Charl Schwartzel, I guess, or the resurgent Charl Schwartzel.
Well, and so that would be 3 rounds because the 4 rounds are at Torrey Pines South. And so there's 3 rounds. And then I think he has a missed cut where he played 1 round at Torrey Pines South and then 1 round at the North. So
yeah. And it looks like he barely missed. And yeah, the other thing I was going to say with the U.S. Open record, so when we're looking at 7,000 or around there, you can either roster someone that you think is going to get their first top 25 at the U.S. Open, or you can go to like an old veteran. It kind of seems like a little bit Justin Rose at the Masters. Not saying that Charles going to do that, but go to the old veteran that's been there, seen it, and can get a top 20 U.S. Open, is not fazed by any of the things that he's going to see along the tournament.
Yeah, you kind of have your choice of different types. You can get your like young up-and-comer, you can get your old, does he still have it type, or more of the like PGA Tour, somewhat journeyman, has had a lot of success at regular PGA Tour events, but not as much success at majors. And so that's kind of what you see in this range, and you there's no perfect prospects in this range.
Niemann, Palmer, and Schwartzel. Basically, you summarize there pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our sleeper show. We have a live DFS show Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, where we talk through the entire field. Q&A. It's really fun. We have our DFS model, which we go through. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. Ring the bell so you get notified when that thumbnail goes up and when that's going to happen. But it is 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday night. And as always, call your shot. Favorite sleeper under 7,500 on DraftKings. Let us know in the comments below who you like at the U.S. Open under 7,500 on DraftKings.
Yep, I got a puppy barking to be let back in, so we'll call her there. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Good luck.